Edward Snowden is somebody who is a whistleblower that ended up leaking government affairs, where we heard about certain programs that the government is using to spy on you. Oh, shit. I personally am not 100% familiar with Edward Snowden. Surely I have heard of him, a lot of people have heard of him, and now the man is back yet again. Maybe this is an older clip, but it is a very well video where he talks about and exposes some terrifying and should concern all of us. That's the title of the video. Like this video, share this video, and let's check this out.
Facebook or Google, for whatever reason, got out of bed in the morning and they actually wanted to protect your the security of your communications in a way that even they can't break. Like right
That's
now,
impossible.
Google and Facebook, they do a great job keeping other people from spying on your communications.
Yeah, they will keep other people from spying, but not themselves.
But if Google wants to rifle through your inbox, right? If Facebook wants to go through all your direct messages and give that to the federal government, like you tap one button,
yeah,
boom, they've got all of it. It happens every single.
Bro, the crazy part here is that there are still people that believe that whatever they write and type, it's private. Nothing is private. The day you're born and the day you have the cell phone, the smartphone, nothing is private. Everything is public information at that point. But there are still some people which I just don't understand. Maybe they don't have the knowledge, or maybe they just believe in the government. Maybe they're just blue pill. We all know those people that believe everything the government says, and I'm like, dog, bruh, if you believe in the government, then I don't trust you, man.
Single day. There's this idea called end-to-end encryption, which what it means is that when you send a message, you know, when Billy sends a message to Bobby, Billy and Bobby both have the keys to unlock that message. And it could be sent through Facebook, it could be sent through Google, but without that key, Google, Facebook, they don't have that key. Only the phones at the end, the laptops at the end, the people who own those, they're the only people who have the key. So if somebody comes to Facebook and says, we want to see that information, Facebook hands over the encrypted message, right?
There we go. And yeah, I'm not 100% familiar with Edward Snowden, but here's the thing, right? If they try to silence you, then I'm tend to believe you, right? If they're trying, if you came out, leak something that was controversial or conspiracy related, maybe some people believed you, some people didn't, and the information that you were saying were like, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. And if the government comes out and they try to silence you, then I'm tend to believe it, and that's what's happening. I'm not sure where he's at. Maybe he's somewhere. He's definitely outside of the U.S. for sure.
And Facebook goes, well, here you go. Here's our copy, but we can't read it. You can't either. Now you've got to actually do some work on the government side and go get that key yourself. And then you can read it, right? But we can't read it. So let me go into some of that in a little depth. The number one target is the iPhone. If you have an iPhone, you get these little software update notifications all the time that are like, hey, please update to the most recent version of iOS.
And there's always has been conspiracy that the second you download these brand new updates, your phone slows down, and they usually drops these updates when a new iPhone is about to come out, and they drop it, and your phone, the current one that you have, is either gonna slow down, gonna lose its battery capacity, or both.
And that's a fabulous thing. That's a wonderful thing for security. Because the number one way that people's devices get screwed, if it's not just through user error, right, like you entering your password somewhere you shouldn't, it's like a fake site that looks like Gmail, but it's not actually Gmail. You just gave the guy your password. Now he uses your password to log in. But to actually break into a device is that it's not patched, right? Patch means getting these security updates, these little code updates. That fix holes that researchers found in the security device. Well, Apple's really good about rolling these out all the time for everybody in the world. The problem is, basically all these...
Ow, this is where the problem is. All these different iPhones, right?
Different iPhones, right? You got an iPhone 6, you got an iPhone 8, you got an iPhone X, you got an iPhone, 3, whatever.
What iPhone were on? iPhone 13 or 14? I lost count. I got the Android, but I'm not saying Android's better. But there are people that get mad over, hey, you got the Android, right? Look at you. You're a peasant for having an Android. We really got to the point where we judge people based on the phones they have. That's absolutely crazy.
Whatever. These are all running a pretty narrow band of software versions. And so these guys go, if they want to target, for example, Android phones, like Google phones, like a Samsung Galaxy or something like that. There's like a billion different phones made by a billion different people Half of them are completely out of date, but what it means is it's not one version of software they're running, it's like 10,000. And this is actually bad for security on the individual level, but it's good for security in a very unusual way, which is the guys who are developing the exploits. The guys like this NSO group who are trying to find ways to break into phones, they realize if they find a way to attack an iPhone, which is actually, you know, this is difficult, this is really difficult stuff. Now it works against basically every iPhone. And who has iPhones? All the rich people, right? All the important people, all the lawmakers, all the guys who are in there. So they've made a business on basically attacking the iPhone and selling it to every 2-bit thug who runs a police department in the world. You know, they sell this stuff to Saudi Arabia, they sell this to Mexico. And there's a group of researchers in Canada working at a university called the Citizen Lab. And these guys are really like the best in the world at tracking what NSO Group is doing. If you want to learn about this stuff, the real stuff, look up Citizen Lab and the NSO Group. And what they have found is all the people who are being targeted by the NSO Group, the classes of people, the countries that are using this. And these like petrostates, these bad actors nationally, will pay literally tens of millions of dollars each year just to have the ability to break into an iPhone for a certain number of times, because that's how these guys do it. They sell their business plan. They go, we'll let you break into any iPhone just by basically sending a text message to this phone. All you need to find is the phone number of a person who's running an iPhone, and we will exploit something.
Yeah, maybe one reason to not have the iPhone anymore. Maybe that's one of the reasons, guys. I don't know. Maybe you're watching this video on iPhone. Oh shit! Maybe you are watching this video on an iPhone.
Like the easiest forms of exploit, or rather the easier types of exploits, are where they send you a text message, right? And it'll be like an iMessage or something like that. And it's got a link in it that'll be like, oh gosh, terrible news, you know, your buddy's father just died, and we're making funeral arrangements. Are you gonna be there? It's the day after tomorrow. And when you click the link for the funeral arrangements, it opens your web browser. And the web browser on your phone is always the biggest, most complicated process in it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I don't like opening browsers on phones. I'm a PC guy. I don't even carry SIM, and I don't like opening up like browser on the phones. It's apps only, but yeah.
There's a zillion lines of code in this, as opposed to an instant messenger where there's fewer lines of code in it. And this is the problem: is on the phone. You can replace the phone, right? And they'll lose access to that. But if they've already used that to gain the passwords that you use to access, you know, your iCloud or whatever, when they have control of the phone, they've already got your photo roll, right? They've already got your contact list. They already have everything that you've ever put in that phone. They already have.
Man, there are people out there just, you know, once they do the Easter eggs, once they get together, they take pictures. Like, oh shit! I mean, wrong sound effects. Like, bruh. Like, why? Like, why? Like, people record videos of them. Obviously, they do not want that leaking out. Obviously, they do not want that being on the internet. But suckers would be like, okay, let me take a picture. Baddies with shorties would be like, let me take a picture, okay? That looked kind of small that day. Looked kind of big that day. Let me take a picture. Why? Just why? You saw it in person. You did it in person. Is that not good enough? Like, come on, son. You're saving all of that on your phone, and then you are shocked when it gets leaked out, or you're shocked when other people find out about it.
All your notes, they already have all your files, they already have everything that's in your message history, right? They can pull that out immediately. And now, because they have, you know, all your contacts and things like that, they see that phone stop being active. They know you've changed your phone number. All they have to do is find the new phone number, and then they can try to go after you again. Dang. The benefit is, with that old style of attack, if you get that message and you don't click that link, you're somebody in a vulnerable class, right? You've had these kind of attacks against you before. It looks suspicious. You don't know who this person is. The number isn't right, something like that. And you save that link. You don't click the link. You don't do anything with that link, but you send it to a group like Citizen Lab. They can basically use that link to basically use like a dummy phone, like a sort of a Trojan horse, to go to the site that would attack your phone and catch it. And this is what the sort of process that all of their research is based on. You got a smartphone, right? You might be listening to this. You got a phone somewhere in the room. The phone is turned off, or at least the screen is turned off. It's sitting there. And if
yeah, it's still active though. Like you ever wondered, maybe he's gonna bring the same point up or not, but it's like one of those things, right? Maybe you and your homies, or maybe you and your family would be talking about buying a certain thing, like a particular product. You never search for it, but you're talking about it, and you go on your phone, and boom, you get served with an ad, and the product is basically the same that you were talking about just minutes ago. Has that ever happened to you?
They send you a message, the screen blinks to life. How does that happen? How is it that if someone from any corner of the earth dials a number, your phone rings and nobody else's rings? Every smartphone is constantly connected to the nearest cellular tower. Every phone, even when the screen is off, you think it's doing nothing. You can't see it because radio frequency emissions are invisible. And so your phone is sitting there doing nothing, you think, but it's constantly shouting and saying, I'm here.
Yeah.
Who is closest to me? It's a cell phone tower. And every cell phone tower with its big ears is listening, and it compares notes with the other network towers, and your smartphone compares notes with them to go, who do I hear the loudest? And who you hear the loudest is a proxy for closeness, distance. They go,
I feel like that's just logical stuff. That's like very basic stuff, but maybe there are a lot of people that are just not aware of this, and they do not think about these stuff. Because I'm listening to this, I'm like, yeah, what you're saying isn't even a conspiracy. I read some comments before watching this video, and some people were like, yeah, this is a conspiracy, I believe in this and that. And now I'm watching it. I know very little about Edward Snowden. I just know the basic stuff. I googled, and you know, before making the video, just to get a lot more context in, just to double check and make sure. But what he's saying is not even conspiracy. That's like logical stuff. That's the basic, like obviously, you know.
Whoever I hear more loudly than anybody else, that's close to me. So you're going to be bound to this cell phone tower, and that cell phone tower is going to make a note, a permanent record, saying, this phone handset with this phone number at this time was connected to me. And based on your phone handset and your phone number, they can get your identity. But what this means is that whenever you're carrying a phone, whenever the phone is turned on, there's a record of your presence at that place that is being made and created by companies. Now, these things are stored. Now, these things are saved. It doesn't matter whether you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't matter whether you're the most ordinary person on Earth, because that's how bulk collection, which is the government's euphemism for mass surveillance, works. They simply collect it all in advance in hopes that one day it will become useful. The thing with shutting your phone off that is a risk is, how do you know your phone's actually turned off? When I was in Geneva working for the CIA, we would all carry...
Okay, he worked for CIA. All right. Okay, then I believe a lot of the stuff then. Where, yeah, all carry radio phone.
Like drug dealer phones. The old smartphones, old dumb phones, they're not smartphones. And the reason why...
Dog, I remember when they had those like flip-flop phones, right? Holy hell. I remember back in 2006, like the flip-flop phones. Oh my god. Yeah, we progressed like real fast, and they called them the dumb phones. Yeah, not the smartphones, the dumb phones.
Was just because they had...
Honestly, bro, these dumb phones, when we had these dumb phones, people were smart. The second we had smartphones, people started becoming dumb. Boom.
Removable backs, where you could take the battery out. And the one beautiful thing about technology is if there's no electricity in it, there's no battery connected to it, it's not sending anything, because you have to get power from somewhere. You have to have power in order to do work. But now your phones are all sealed, right? You can't take the batteries out. So there are potential ways that you can hack a phone where it appears to be off, but it's not actually off. It's just pretending to be off, whereas in fact it's still listening in and doing all this stuff. I wrote a paper on this specific problem. How do you...
Okay, I thought it said Andrew Tate. Andrew Booney. I don't know why every time I hear the word Andrew or name Andrew, I'm thinking about Andrew Tate, man.
Know when a phone is actually off? How do you know when it's actually not spying on you? With a brilliant guy named Andrew Bunny Huang, called the introspection engine. But for average people, right, this is academic. That's not your primary threat. Your primary threats are these bulk collection programs. Your primary threat is the fact that your phone is constantly squawking to these cell phone towers that's doing all of these things. Yeah. Because we leave our phones in a state that is constantly on. You're constantly connected. But the whole idea is we need to identify the problem. And the central problem with smartphone use today is you have no idea what the hell it's doing at any given time.
True. I wonder, and this is where I don't know and I need the answer. What happens if you do not have the SIM, right? Like I don't have the SIM, so obviously it's not connected, but it still kind of is connected because if you dial like emergency numbers, it's gonna work. I never tried it, but that's what I hear, that even if you do not have the SIM, so I would like to believe that even if you don't have the SIM, it's still doing what he is saying it's doing, it's still connected. But what happens if you uncheck the Wi-Fi though? Right, because usually my phone is not on Wi-Fi, but it's still pretending to be off, and it's still hearing and listening. So, but I want to get some clarity on that.
Like the phone has the screen off, you don't know what it's connected to, you don't know how frequently it's doing it, and you don't even know it's happening because you can't see it, right? And this is the problem with the data collection used today, is there is an industry that is built on keeping this invisible. They can see everything about you, they can see everything about what your device is doing, and they can do whatever they want with your device. It knows what you bought, it knows who you talked to, it knows what you're interested in, it's seen every photograph that you've had.
Yeah.
These are intensely private, intensely personal things.
And people record and capture their moments, their intimate moments, when they're doing Easter eggs, when like Brad, that's, yeah, man, humanity is kind of dumb though. That even if this was not real, you would have to just be like, yeah, dog, like let me not take a picture of a Bob or vagina, right? Like, and save it for souvenir. I'm gonna send my BF that, or vice versa. Like damn. And then you get hacked, and then guess what happens next? You get like extortionate, or you like they send you a message. They're like, okay, we're gonna you get blackmail essentially, and they ask you for your money.
And the thing is, our phones have become such a necessary part of our lives for everyone, not just communications. You want to get a job, you want to communicate with your family, again, you want to make a purchase. People increasingly use their phones to do that. So the phone is really an extension of this.
Yeah.
It's a part of you.
True.
And now there are private companies that have no business besides creating ways to hack into these phones. And then they sell these hacking methods to governments around the world, including some very bad governments that we wouldn't agree with having these capabilities. Before 2013, if you said there's a system that's watching everything you do, the government is collecting records of every phone call in the United States, even for those people who are not suspected of any crime, it was a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Yes, there were some people who believed it was happening. Yes, there were academics who could say this was technically possible. The world of 2013, some suspected that this was happening.
Yeah, I feel like that a lot of people are now starting to wake up. A lot of people are now starting to realize that whatever and everything that you're told most of the time is a lie.
The world after 2013, we know that it's happening. We have now had the first European regulations that are trying to limit the amount of data that can be collected secretly and used against populations broadly.
Yeah.
And we have also seen the basic structure of the internet itself change in response to this understanding that the network path that all of our communications cross. When you request a website, when you send a text message, when you read an email, for so long those communications have been electronically naked or unencrypted.
Mm-hmm. To a certain extent, it's good that there are being policies in place and there are certain things that are happening and the lawmakers are trying to regulate. But I feel like that the cat is out of the bag, right? You feed all of those years of data that they secretly collected, you feed that to the AI. The AI would know everything, right? Yeah, there would surely, like in the future, if something, you know, somebody sends privately, even then it's like, you know, they're gonna tell you that, hey, send it privately, we're not listening, we're not watching. They are, obviously, but maybe it's gonna be a little bit less. But still though, do you really believe it? It's one of those things, right? Like they broke your trust, and she broke your trust. She says that she's not gonna cheat on you. Are you really gonna believe that?
Before 2013, more
are we gonna take a chance?
Than half the world's internet communications were unencrypted. Now, far more than half are, measured by just web traffic from one of the world's leading browsers, the Google Chrome browser. The entire world has changed. in the last few years. It hasn't gone far enough. The problems still exist. And in some ways, they've gotten worse.
Thank you for subscribing, Paul. Appreciate it. Welcome on in. If you guys are new, definitely like and subscribe.
But we have made progress that would not have been possible if we didn't know what was going on. Hacking has increasingly become what governments consider a legitimate investigative tool. They use the same methods and techniques as criminal hackers. And what this means is they will try to remotely take over your device. Once they do this, by detecting a vulnerability in the software that your device runs, such as Apple's iOS or Microsoft Windows, they can craft a special kind of attack code called an exploit. They then launch this exploit at the vulnerability on your device, which allows them to take total control of that device. Anything you can do on that device, the attacker, in this case the government, can do. They can read your email, they can collect every document, they can look at your contact book, they can turn the location services on, they can see anything that is on that phone instantly and send it back home to the mothership. They can do the same with laptops.
Yeah, not long ago I watched like Money Heist once again, and it's kind of wild, right? Like obviously it's a TV show, right? But still, like that technology is still available. Where you know there were some hostages that were kept inside the bank. If you watch Money Heist, you know what I'm saying, right? And they had their phones that were taken away from them, but then there's like one chick that turns on her phone, and then boom, the cops outside, they actually get that thing. They were like, somebody actually turned on their phone, let's actually hack it. They hack it within seconds, and now they're able to listen, hear, and see through the cameras that were on the phone, and they were able to be inside, but they're not inside, but they're still inside because of that phone. So yeah,
the other problem that we forget so frequently is that in many cases they don't need to hack our devices. They can simply ask Google for a copy of our email box, because Google saves a copy of that. Everything that you ever typed into that search box, Google has a copy of. Every private message that you've sent on Facebook, every link that you've clicked, everything that you've liked, they keep a permanent record of. And all of these things are available not just to these companies, but to our governments, as they are increasingly deputized as sort of miniature arms of government.
Yeah, that's absolutely wild. And the video ended abruptly, but click on this video on the screen. This is absolutely the wildest video. They do not want you seeing that. Check it out anyways, and I will see you right there.